Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and then glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushua, Ba'ashim, Rakah Kadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who were well and teach well with sound doctrine, and peace and blessings to the elect. Now, as you can see here, this is actually a picture that a brother posted in our group chat. I meant to, really post this, do this lesson, earlier on, but I just came across it and I was just kind of meditating on it. I was like, what's this? I was just like, whoa. It's funny how all these prophecies are on a domino effect, because whilst everybody's eyes, the people speaking of the people in the world, whilst their eyes are on the Ukraine, they're not really, they're not being circumspect. They're not seeing what is going on in the background. Okay, stuff is going on with Ukraine. That's wars and, rumors of wars or whatnot. That's prophecy, and they're saying, oh, this stuff is tragedy and whatnot. But ultimately it's the Lord that's in control of everything. So okay, so Russia is getting those hooks put back into his jaws. Russia is the one who's doing this. They're getting off on Russia. Okay, so by protest article, let's read this. Russia warns of $300 oil if US Europe proceed with import ban. Now let's look at it from a certain standpoint. Russia is one of the major countries. I don't know how, if I'm wording this right. Is one of the major countries that deal with the oil. It's Russia, Venezuela, Iraq. I believe Ukraine's up there as well. I'm not 100% sure. It's a few other countries. I can't remember them off the top of my head. But Russia is definitely, I believe Russia's the biggest one. If I'm not mistaken, a brother could correct me on a comment board. So if you have something like this that's happening by way of them making a sanction due to Russia attacking Ukraine and whatnot, you got to see, okay, the price of oil now. So when you used to go to a gas station to get petrol, that price is not going to be the same because it can be manipulated now, because due to imports being banned from a certain country like Russia, there's quote unquote less oil to go around to these other nations, because they're trying to quote unquote stop Russia from being the big bad bear. And although it isn't even time for that yet, it's just a little preview, because certain stuff still needs to happen, like the MOB still needs to be mandated, and Jacob's Trouble still needs to come before we even talk about that great final war, man, because the Lord's gonna be appearing in the midst of that. But Salakia, yeah, let me read that. Let me read some of this. Although it's just a picture anyway. But Russia was $300 oil. Yeah, I've already read this. Russia Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak said the surge in oil prices would be unpredictable if an oil ban is enacted, because your oil prices can then be manipulated. Because why? There's more of a chance of the oil, they're having gas shortages, or they're running out of gas or whatnot, because we have not been able to get imports from this, from Russia. So we're not gonna have as much gas as we usually do. But we're doing it to make a point. So Russia is not getting money for the imports that they're sending to us, and we are not getting any of the benefits from those imports that we're paying for. But it's for the greater good, as they would say. Salakia. If the Kremlin warned Tuesday that oil prices will surge to an unprecedented level if U.S. and European lawmakers proceed with banning Russian oil and gas imports in response to what's going on in Ukraine. And the reason why he's saying that's, why it would be unpredictable, because you have to, like, I don't work in the logistics of oil, but you have to imagine that they don't know how. I can't say for sure how much of that oil, how much of the world's oil supply, that's gonna affect, or how much oil that is. That could, imagine if it was 33% of the world's oil, just to throw in a number, or imagine if it was 20%. That's a significant amount. It may not seem like a lot by way of percentage, but for example, so like let me think now. So imagine that I get paid 15,000 or 1,500 a month, right? And my bills are say my bills are say like let me think now. My bills are 1,300. Now, since I'm making 1,500 a month, I can pay that. I still have change left over to do what I want. But if there's a 20% cut, so let's do it like this. I'm pretty good with numbers, as I don't mean to make this into a little math lesson. So like, but anyway, 10% of 1,500 is 150. 150 times 2 is 300. 300 take away 1,500 would be 1,200. So by way of the 20% that has been cut, from your salary, you no longer have enough money to pay your bills. So using that same uh, using that same concept, that 20%, say it was 20% of the world's oil supply that got messed up by this, by way of the import ban, which, if I'm not mistaken, an import is something that comes into, something that's coming into our country, and an export is something that leaves the country. That's where you have an internal hard drives, an internal is inside, and you have external is outside. That's what helps me remember. So like I was saying, you no longer have enough money to pay for your bills. So you have issues. What you gonna do? You could take out a loan, but if you take out a loan, you Salakia just keeps coming off. If you take if hold on. Yeah, I always like to make reference of this precept, and this is Sirach, 5:15. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small matter, because people will say, "Oh, wait, let me just check this is recording." Because people will say, "Oh, they're just warning of this issue. They're not saying that it's coming to. They're not saying that it's really coming to effect yet. Oh, they're saying what else they're saying? They're saying, oh, you know I don't think that they'll do that because they're losing out on money, and say, you know uh, basically thinking on a low level, and not saying, what, this actually links to prophecy, man. No, because they don't really care for the prophecies until it's too late. Until it rains, until it drenches their parade. Because right now they want to have fun. They want to live the best summer life. They don't want to repent. They don't want to do anything, man. So like I was saying before, okay, you could start up with something gradual, because hey, if you if something like that just skyrockets out of nowhere, you're damn right there's gonna be a whole lot of resistance, but it's almost because if you remember, not too long ago, they did a similar thing where, I don't know if you brothers remember, there was some gas shortages, and people were filling up the back of their trucks, and they were driving, with gas in the back. And listen, I'm young here, but listen, you are not gas, you know, petrol, or whatever you want to call it. You're not supposed to do that, because gas is a source of fuel for a combustion, and combustion is fire and explosion. For those of you who may not know, so Russia, you gotta be thinking. Oh, Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Russia lately. I've been seeing a lot of Russia lately, of course, because it's prophesied that Russia is gonna, Russia is gonna get those hooks put back into their mouth. Because at one point Russia was quiet, but it went. Russia's never been that quiet, but they've been quiet to an extent because there's power, there's power in mystery. Because I remember I got black nose, Slovakia. I remember I remember kind of like the mysteries that was circling around. Or Russia's been training their troops. Russia's been doing this. Russia's been doing that. Russia's doing a whole lot of things. Russia's building their arms. Russia is demanding like territory. Seemingly, you know, the Lord could have it where they do seize the land. Who knows? Or they could kind of sign a treaty and speak with them behind closed doors and say, hey, we have a common enemy, because they didn't come down here to save you. They just pretty much talked from across the ocean. Can we agree on that? That so I see it as I speak as a man, but they could logically come up with some kind of logically come up with some kind of solution. If it's not if it's not the Lord's will for it to brew up to the climax. Yeah, and like I pointed out, there's certain things that have to happen before we get Russia's fangs really coming up. Like the MLB has to be mandated, and that's something for sure, man. But hold on, let me get another precept. Yeah, come yeah, the precept. I was just kind of thinking for a little bit. I wasn't sure what to take it, but ultimately, like I just when I went back on the picture, I was like, oh, the U.S. is spiritual, because the bear is prophesied to be the one, to be the main one who basically destroys, the harlot. And even in Babylon's head, they still think it prayerfully, what, because they haven't really felt real pressure. So when you say, oh, this thing is gonna badly affect you, you know it's gonna 300 for the oil, which is a form of this is a form of hyperinflation, if I'm not mistaken, because you're gonna have prices skyrocketing, because or that could be that it's either hyperinflation, or it's price, or it could be price elasticity, which hold on, let me search. Stop being lazy. Okay, so we got hyperinflation here. Hyperinflation in economics, hyperinflation is very high and typically accelerating inflation. It comes when the real, okay, no, it's not inflation, because it's not really the currency that's getting affected. It's a service that you use currency to buy, but it's not the currency itself. So I would say that it's hold on, Slovakia.
According to Wikipedia, in economics, elasticity measures the percentage change of one economic variable in response to a percentage change in another.
Yeah, I think it's price elasticity, which is basically when a price can change due, well, you just saw it there, due to the demand of something else changing. You probably see it from Wikipedia. They have a certain mark where something is elastic, where something is inelastic, which can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, basically, when it gets to a point where the demand is not affected by the price can be manipulated or whatever. But there's also a point where there's not too much demand and you can manipulate the price. Thou that dwellest in that pride of thy heart have deceived thee. Obadiah 1 and 3. That pride of thy heart have deceived thee. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, you shall bring me down to the ground, because they're the coming back of the Roman Empire. So they're like, you know, we're bad, we're too bad, no one can touch us. But that's not how the way it's gonna go, because the Lord is gonna put an evil thought into the mind of Russia. That's why, like it says in Ezekiel, and linking up with Proverb 21 and 1, I believe it's 21 and 1, you know, what do you call it? The heart of the king, the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. And when you go into that word heart, it goes into the Hebrew word love, which goes into your mind. So so it's referring to your mind, man, which ultimately you could say is interchangeable with the spirit as well, because your spirit is what pilots your body. Just like when you have a vehicle, you're inside of your vehicle, you're the one who drives the car. So you can't be ignorant to what's going on. And this was just kind of a video to update brothers on what's going on, because you have no idea what could happen in the next 2 weeks, in the next 3 weeks at the rate this is going. You have no idea if this end of this year could be the year, or if beginning of next year could be the year. You don't know, so you have to be constantly watching and constantly praying. Let me go to Romans 13:11 and close it out. Salakia. This is Romans, to close it out with. This is Romans 13:11, and that knowing the time, and Salakia, and that knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, especially when you're having prophecy kick off left, right, center. You're having wars and rumors of wars. You're having, palm payment. You're having, you've had Marcus. You've had Marcus mentioned on the news. It's not being mandated, but it's been mentioned. So that's something that you can't ignore. And you have had, all these different things. You can't take your eyes off, because it's obvious that we're closer to salvation than we were, at any other time. Because prophecy has never been happening like this before. It is high time to wake out of sleep, for now our salvation is nearer than when we believed. And in closing, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahshai Bashim B'Kakadash. Until next time, Shalom.